probably won't, but we'll give it a go anyway. Yep, that seems to be working. Good evening everyone, Mike here, Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. And first of all, I should start off by saying, does the microphone actually work? Can you hear a darn thing that I'm actually saying? I've got my new camera set up at the moment, so yeah, if the levels are completely off, please let me know right now. It looks like I'm about the same as normal, I think. So looking at some of your chat, so how you doing, Mike? Yep, sounds good. Thank you, Stuart. Loud and clear, awesome, sounds good. Excellent, awesome stuff, and hopefully the image might even be slightly better. I'm now using my newer camera, my Lumix S5, which in theory is pumping out 4K, which is then downsampled to 1080p, so this should look pretty sharp. So I suppose I really should have groomed my eyebrows slightly more before we started the stream, but hey ho, it is what it is. Sorry for starting late. It is mine and Kath's anniversary today, our wedding anniversary of 26 years. Yeah, 26 years, wow. That's flown by. I remember when I had a wedding day and I had hair. I lost my hair since then. I did have quite a mop there.
You would have to camera up.
Yeah, I would have needed a wider angle lens to get my hair in because I was like, yes, it was quite a bush. So, Kath, happy anniversary to you.
And you.
Bless you.
The Wonder Years.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I look like Fred Savage from the Wonder Years, I really did. I had the chin and everything. I still have a little bit. It's like kind of disappearing. Thanks, Ugly Bob, for the super chat. £20, thank you. That's extremely kind. It says, happy anniversary, Mike and Kath. Yeah, awesome. I'm not sure if that camera is a little bit too bright. Anyway, what the hell. It is what it is. So, yeah, thanks for all of you for stopping by tonight. Hopefully, we're going to have a bit of fun on this stream. And potentially, we are going to brick the MSI B450 Tomahawk MAX 2. My intention is to flash the BIOS, but while flashing the BIOS, I'm going to pull the plug. I'm going to deliberately corrupt the BIOS and then see if potentially it can be redeemed using MSI's flashback method. Also in this stream, we're going to talk about the differences between this, the Tomahawk MAX 2, and the Tomahawk MAX, and the Tomahawk MAX 1. No, the Tomahawk. That's the one. Confused already. I can't believe it. I've been saying the Tomahawk MAX all day long today. It's been driving me slightly insane. Skystalker with a £10 Canadian dollars super chat. Thank you very much, and hopefully you're feeling better. I'm feeling rubbish. I've got to be honest with you. I'll bring a downer on tonight's proceedings already. This week has been somewhat of a turning point for me in my life. I've heavily overdosed on sugar over the years, and the time is now telling where the body is fighting back a little bit and saying, no, 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 you can't keep doing this. So this week I've been on the wagon. No booze, no spirits, no crisps, no, I'm running out of fingers, chocolates, basically no sugary stuff. I've had a little bit of sugar in my tea. That has been my one kind of weakness, or my treat. A cup of tea every now with a sugar in. So heavily cutting back on the sugar, and hopefully I'm looking slightly more trim at the moment. I'm not. I've lost about 4 or 5, not pounds, is it pounds? What do we have without stones? It is pounds, yeah. I've lost about 4 or 5 pounds, so getting there slowly but surely, trying to get down to my fighting weight ready for the summer so I can flex my pecs out in the back garden. You don't want to hear about all that anyway. So yeah, we're trying to, just trying to be a little bit more healthy. Then I can do this for a little while, get my body back to kind of some resemblance of normal, then start introducing the stuff again and start enjoying those things rather than just consuming them for the sake of consumption. I used to just sit there and nail a packet of biscuits without even thinking about it. This is not good for you. It isn't good for your life, etc., health, all that kind of stuff. So kids, don't eat too much junk food. It's bad for you. I am a living example of such thing. Stuart Cleary with a €20 super chat says, happy anniversary. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. What year did you get married? It was 1996.
Oh, well done.
I had to think carefully then to remember the year. We used to have a clock on the wall, which one of Kath's friends bought for us. It was like one of those, almost like a dinner plate type style ornamental clock with like an analog clock, and it had to have and to hold from this day forward. And then it had the anniversary date. It was quite handy because it was in the closet room where we did our washing and where the fridge was and what have you. So every day you'd walk in there and see the clock on the wall. Like, oh yeah, mustn't forget the anniversary. But it's kind of embedded. And the fact that it was 26 years ago, yeah, a long time ago. A lot has changed since then. Back in 1996,
Didn't have a PC.
had a Sega Mega Drive and the Mega CD add-on. We'd not long bought our first house, and yeah, we were absolutely...
3 years, we've done our house 3 years.
3 years, was it?
93
We were skint. We were absolutely... Yeah, it was awful. We were... I think that's why it's actually made us into the kind of the value-conscious people that we are now, because frugal, well done. We saved money where we could because we had a mortgage to pay, and at 19 years old, paying a mortgage is not an easy thing to do, especially in the mid-90s after we had the recession in the early 90s. Things were starting to bounce back, but very slowly. Anyway, moving on. Stuart Cleary was married in 1995. Oh, well done, mate. Just beating us very, very slightly. Well done. And did the calf just turn that on, or was that... Oh, Gary. Gary with $10 super chat says, happy anniversary, Mike. My condolences, calf.
Oh, it's been alright.
What'd you say?
It's been alright.
Can you say it later?
It's been alright.
Thank you. Just making sure that everyone heard that. It has been all right. There you go. From the horse's mouth, calf says officially, it's been all right. I should put that on a t-shirt. 26 years of marriage.
Not always.
It's been all right. Not always. Sometimes it's been less than all right.
So it's been mediocre.
There has been ups and downs, as with most things.
What are you doing, Lee?
Anyway, moving on. So, I will say hello to those of you in the chat shortly, and we'll answer some of your questions as well. Yeah, it's been a funny old week, hasn't it? We've had storms pretty much throughout the world. I think it seems to be. I don't think anyone has really escaped from the storms. We had it yesterday. Unfortunately, I'm really sad to say that one of our plant pots actually rolled over. That was the extent of the storm damage for us. Fortunately, I'm sure there's those of you out there that have had considerably worse, but we in Bristol, we do quite well in terms of weather. It's a relatively flat place, Bristol, and because we're surrounded by basically kind of Exmoor, Devon, and those kind of areas, and then on the other side we've got the Welsh valleys. We're kind of in the middle, so most of it either stops either one of those two places and kind of avoids us, or just blows straight over. So we're quite lucky in terms of weather, but it was pretty windy and I was a little bit scared. I was slightly hopeful that our roof was going to get damaged, so I didn't have to pay for it to be replaced myself, but hey, you can't win them all, can you? That is going to cost me £9,000 to replace my roof. That upsets me a great deal, as you can probably imagine. So yeah, I was hoping for a little bit of damage. Even a few broken tiles would just about be enough for someone to come around and say, yeah, I think the whole lot needs replacing. I'm like, yes, thank you very much. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, if you have lost any fence panels, or worse than that, you've lost car's been smashed or whatever, I do actually feel for you. It is a horrible thing, and listening out to that wind, it was pretty scary. I've got to be honest with you. It was very, very noisy, especially, and actually the day before. Excuse me, the day before it was actually worse for us in terms of noise because of the direction the wind was going, but on the actual main day itself when they had the red alert, it seemed like the wind was actually in our favour, going the right way along our kind of street. So anyway, yeah, say a quick what's it? Dutch Jan says, DIY Mike, I am not getting up on a roof. I struggle enough with bioses. I'm not going to be messing around with chimneys and tiles and heights. I'm not overly keen on that, I'll be honest with you. I don't think that's going to happen. So anyway, today we're going to be talking about MSI's B450 Tomahawk MAX 2. Now, for those of you that have been long-term members of the channel, you'll remember I did the original Tomahawk, and I think I've done the Tomahawk MAX. I'm not entirely sure if I did. Maybe I did the Tomahawk. I can't remember. Maybe one of you will remember. I basically said it's overrated, and to some extent I still do stand by that. At the time, when this first came out in, what, 2018, 2019, I think it may have been, possibly even 2018, 2017? I don't know. The original Tomahawk B450, it was pretty legendary. Excellent VRMs, the thermal capacity was excellent, you could overclock the snot out of it, it was a very good board, loads of fan headers, decent memory support, all those kinds of good things. And it really was a leader in its class and actually did better than some of the X470 boards, which is why essentially a lot of X470 boards probably didn't leave the shelf. Antonio Lesperanza, oh, sorry, I struggle with that. £10 super chat, thank you very much, Antonio. Much appreciated. I was waiting for a question underneath, but there's no question. Anyway, I'll move on. So this, I feel, and I still do actually to this very day, I still feel that the B450 Tomahawk was an overrated board. Now yes, it did perform particularly well. Now, on the market, this retails for somewhere in the region of about £60 here in the UK. Which for £60, for a B450, yeah, okay. It's a decent price. And the only other real competition of this would be the B550 Pro Wi-Fi VDH from MSI also, which ironically uses pretty much exactly the same VRM setup, a 4+2 setup, same amount of RAM. Obviously being a B550 chipset, there's more things, PCI Express Gen 4, you do get 2 M.2 slots, whereas this gets 1. So if I was to build a system now, a new system with a 3000 or 5000 series processor, I would generally go with the B550 Pro VDH Wi-Fi. But I still appreciate that there are people building systems with slightly older processors, or maybe just don't want the other bells and whistles, such as addressable RGB or possibly Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all that kind of stuff. And the Tomahawk board always, I don't know why, but it just always seems to get a lot of views and a lot of interest. So when I saw this on CCL here in the UK, which is cclcomputers.co.uk, I believe it is. I'm not entirely sure, actually, I can't remember. But they've actually got a really cool little section on their site called Clearance. You click on Clearance, you go into components, motherboards, cases, processors, RAM, etc., etc. And it refreshes daily. So whenever they get something which is either being RMA'd, they've checked out it's okay, or it's been returned from a manufacturer, it's being refurbished, rather than sell it out through eBay and stuff like that, they put it on their clearance site. So you can get some really good bargains, and quite often they will give you free postage on these items so they can get them out the door, which is awesome. So actually down to Charles or C McKnight on our Discord, who quite often posts these deals, posted some clearance deals for CCL, and I thought, well, let's have a look, see what's on there. See if I can kind of perk some interest. Now I have actually just bought an MSI R100R, the, I can't think what the case is called now. It's the 100R, Vampiric 100R. And I was looking for an MSI motherboard because I wanted to do a more MSI themed build. Reason behind that, I've got an MSI keyboard and mouse behind me, which I'm getting a little bit tired now, so I want to replace them with something else. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll build a nice little MSI themed PC to go on Facebook Marketplace, stick the motherboard in, stick the keyboard and mouse in, stick on MSI sensor, get it all synchronized in nicely. It's going to look good. People like that kind of stuff. RGB. Like it or loathe it, it sells computers. If you put a picture of a PC with no lights versus a PC which is basically rubbish with loads of lights, the one with loads of lights will always sell. It's just the way of the world, it really is.
That might be a Bristol thing.
It could be a Bristol thing, I really don't know, but it does seem to be that way. So anyway, that was the reason behind it. I then saw this board at 30, I think it's 34.95 or 34.97, reduced from 60. And I had previously had no intention of getting this board at all, because I did look previously between the MAX 2 and other boards similar B450 range, and I thought, well, there's no reason, there's no point whatsoever. But at this price, it did pique my interest, so I pushed that buy button. Also bought with it a, actually where is it? Nope, I've hidden it. A new processor, an OEM processor, believe it or not, a 4300 GE from AMD, obviously, Ryzen 3 4300 GE, 4 cores, 8 threads, normal speed 3.5 gigahertz, turbo boost speed of up to 4 gigahertz, and also it incorporates Vega 6 graphics running at, I believe it's 1800 megahertz. So basically it is kind of a Ryzen 3 3100, but with a GT 1030 bolted onto the side of it. So for £90, which was reduced considerably because the OEM processors generally don't sell, in extreme circumstances you can pick them up on eBay and Alibaba and all those kinds of places, but normally you're not able to buy them because they are an OEM chip and go into system builds. Normally you pick that chip up for somewhere in the region of about 150, 170. I've seen them as much as 250, which is absolutely ludicrous. But for $89.99 as a B grade item, which means it's basically been installed and not used, happy days. So I bought the two together. So I've ended up with a decent motherboard and a very capable processor with built-in graphics for somewhere in the region of about 125, 130 pounds, which for me I think is, for this day and age, is particularly good. And $89.99 is essentially what you would pay these days for a 200 GE, which is a considerably worse processor with only 2 cores and 4 threads, I believe. So yeah, not great. Right, so let's talk about the differences between, actually before we talk about the differences between the Max and the Max 2, because they are very convoluted and it's probably going to take a little while. So I'm going to head over to the chat a minute and say a quick hello to those of you that have been very patient and held on, waiting for us to start the stream, and actually allowed us to go and eat some food. So we did have some pork and some rice. Not very elaborate, but yes, it is what it is. Trying to be good. So no pie and chips. I've been eating too many chips recently as well. Chips are a bad thing. As lovely as they are, just don't do it, kids. It's not good for you. So, oh no, this is in top chats. Let's go to live chat. Not going to show all of it, I don't think, but we'll see what we can do. So again, thank you for those that wished us well on either Facebook or Discord or actually on here for our anniversary. We do appreciate it. And so we've got, for some reason it's got rid of most of my live chat, so I do apologise. So the Giant Killer says my wife hasn't killed me yet, but that's a bonus. May it continue for a long time. Mark Point's with us and says, just joined the Army Cadets that year. Wow. You must be Sergeant Major by now. Mark Berry says, Tony Blair was PM. I do remember that thing. And yes, the theme tune was Things Can Only Get Better. Without getting too...
Or the opposite.
Yeah, to not get too political, I would disagree with Tony's statement there. Things did not get better. They did briefly, until basically the world just went titsup.com, which is not good. Markovsky's with us, says good evening. How you doing, Mark? Gary's with us with the super chat. Thank you, Gary. Nick Momberg, how you doing, Nick? Says good to hear you've been together long. Not many people do. My parents have just hit 50 years married. Awesome, well done. That's 50 years, that's impressive. 50 years marriage will be 71. Might make that, if I'm lucky. I'll be happy. Happy days. Ricardo's with us. He says, lol. Not sure. Did I say something stupid? Probably. Aletta's with us. How you doing, Aletta? Kieran Atkinson. How you doing, Kieran? Mr. RGB himself. Derek Cannon says, even Mike and Kath. How you doing, Derek? Ugly Bob. Obviously, Ugly Bob is here. Probably pissed out of his skull already, but that's good because he gets loose with his wallet when that happens, so we like that. Should I say that? I should. I am a shill sometimes. Deathstrokes with us says, can't believe you're going to try and brick the Mobo. Need some help? I can do it without trying. Yes, bricking a motherboard is never a good idea, but this is purely in the name of science. I have done it previously with the B450-A Pro and managed to recover it eventually. So I'm hoping the same will be of this. Fortunately for me, I have already recorded 2 videos with this, the unboxing and also how to do the BOSS update. So in terms of investment, for £35, it's a risk I'm willing to take. If it goes badly wrong, I'm pretty sure CCL will probably send it back for me and get MSI to redo the BIOS, so not a big deal there. £10 super chat from Ugly Bob. Is it working already? Is the booze kicked in? What's he say? I'm very, very drunk on Welsh whiskey. Very good. Thank you for your super chat, Bob. Much appreciated. Right, where did I get to? Alessa says, we've had a lot of flooding in my area. I'm glad I live on top of a high hill. Oh, what was that? Is that a cat?
That's Popsy.
Okay.
She's finding something somewhere.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't get too bad. Jonathan says, it was very windy. Yes, it was. It's not good, is it? Mark Point says, question, I've been wanting 128 gigs of RAM and wanting to know if all you need for that is Windows Pro. Yes, and a bit of luck. 128 gigs of RAM is not an easy thing to do on most motherboards because you're going to be using 32 gig sticks, which are going to be dual-sided dual rank, I believe. So that is a lot of memory to address at a given frequency. So you're going to have to make sure that the memory controller on your processor is top-notch and your motherboard traces where from the CPU to the actual memory sticks are also top-notch as well. Otherwise you're going to find yourself degrading your performance from maybe 3600 down to 3200 or maybe even down to 2666. So it isn't, just because it says it supports it doesn't mean necessarily it's going to work particularly well and it's going to work at the XMP rated speeds. That is always the caveat. That they very rarely say specifically what will work. Although saying that, if you look in the motherboard manual, if you dig deep into it, it will tell you what is supported on what channels, whether it's dual rank, single rank, etc, etc. So do check your motherboard manual first before you pull the trigger, because 128 gigs of RAM is going to be expensive. So yeah, I would hate for you to lose out on that one. Hopefully that answers your question. Mark says, oh, congratulations you too, nice one, thank you very much. How did I miss that just now? Kenny D says, hi, how everyone, how are you doing on this cold Saturday night? It's actually quite warm in here at the moment. I believe, actually, I'm going to have a look. I believe it is, yes, 24.2 degrees currently in the Mub Studios, which is probably radiating from my head. O'Reilly has come in with a £10 super chat. Says, happy anniversary, Mike, Kath. Here, here to another 20 plus years. Thank you very much. And yes, I would like another 20 plus years. Just,
not with me.
Just so I can guarantee that I'm going to get those 20 plus years. If I've got to be married at the same time, so be it. Kath did actually laugh at that, so I'm not in trouble. Thank you, O'Reilly.
Whoops.
Actually, I know what I've not been doing. Have I been clicking on? I haven't been clicking on those, have I?
No.
Is that working now? Yes, they are working now. Sorry, I am useless. I am rubbish. I've worked out why the messages weren't coming up before. It's because I had the layer hidden. Right. Free Will Burn-In says, almost bedtime here. It is. Sorry, almost bedtime there. It is actually, yeah. It's not far off. Ricardo's talking about his PSU. Deathstroke lost 4 fence panels. Sorry to hear that, buddy. Stuart says, carnage here in Dublin. 5 wheelie bins upended on patio chair also. I hope the insurance company will be able to cover that. Jeff Watson, Mike, can you recommend a mid-range AM4 board? Needs to be PCI Express 4 and 5 volt addressable RGB. Currently running an A520. We're looking to upgrade TA. I think I'll go back to what I said earlier. So the MSI B450 Pro VDH Wi-Fi, or just the Pro VDH if you don't need the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. That for me, top notch, very, very inexpensive. If you do want to spend a bit more and you want an ATX size board, then I can very, very comfortably recommend the B550 Gaming Plus, which is actually what is currently running in the machine behind me. And that is turned out to be a very, very solid board. Despite the amount of abuse and disrespect I give to it on a regular basis by swapping things out and plugging things in when they're not fully inserted into the case, or the motherboard such as RAM, which I did the other day. I actually turned the PC on with a RAM stick hanging out of one of the slots and it didn't burn out. I was particularly impressed by that. So well done, MSI, for your over or under voltage control limitation there. That worked very, very well. Nick Monberg says, insurance can be declined, claiming act of God in its small print. Yeah, I did think of that actually. Yeah. Chris Goddard's replied to Jeff also and says B550 Gaming Plus. Yep. Echoing what I've said. Awesome. Can't agree more. For the money, for around about £100, £109, I have found that some of the MSI B550 boards have started to creep up in price, especially the ATX size ones. The micro ATX ones seem to be relatively unaffected. Whether or not it's because it's a lot of stock or I'm not entirely sure why, but anyway. Markovsky says, regarding the weather, it's just winter blowing itself out. I wish it would get up and do it already. Mark Berry says, not as bad as 1987 when 7 Oaks became 1 Oak. I remember that very well when Michael Fish, I believe it was on the news saying there's a storm coming, but it'll be absolutely fine. and then it turned out to be one of the worst storms on record in the country. Although I think he was misrepresented on what he said. I think he came back and said after. But anyway.
But our wedding day was like yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, actually, yeah, our wedding day
sunny.
had all the seasons in one day. So we woke up in the morning, it was actually relatively bright and windy. Then we were doing our photos before the wedding, and we were stood outside the church having the photographs taken, and it was blowing a gale and it was icy cold. We went in, got married, came out, and it was like snow on the ground and hailstones.
No, it was just snow.
And then there was like thunder lightning later in the day, wasn't there?
I don't think so. You've imagined that.
I probably did build that into it.
No, it just snowed, didn't it? And then
Yeah.
we got home and your hairdresser had come round.
Yeah,
and put
back in the day when I actually had a hairdresser, my XR2 lookalike outside had written in snow on the back window, congratulations, just married, or something along those lines, from my hairdresser. Obviously he's unemployed now.
He's just a neck dresser.
He's a neck dresser. He does necks and backs. And cracks, if you ask nicely. Ugly Bob's saying that as well. Jeff Watson and Chris said it too. Yeah, B550 Gaming Plus is a great board. Totally agree with that. Nilav, have I pronounced that right, Nilav? Nilav Kumar, Jenna. I think I've pronounced that mostly right. If I haven't, I apologise. It says, get any B550 motherboard. They're good value, no need to splurge. Just get the cheapest one you can find that has two M.2 slots. Seems like a good idea. Freewheel Burn-In says, does it support 10th gen? No, this is, unless you're having a conversation with someone else, this is an AMD board, so it isn't going to support any Intel processors at all. Funny actually, I still get that on a relatively regular basis with people asking if Intel motherboards support AMD processors and vice versa. It isn't a thing anymore. It hasn't been since, I think, Socket 370 was the last real platform that supported IBM, AMD, Intel, and Cyrix chips at the same time. There might have been another one. Nilav says, do you have any gripes with this particular motherboard? I kind of do, but I don't. I wouldn't say gripes. We'll get into that shortly. I'm going to say hello to the rest of the people in here and we'll talk about why I don't like it. Let's see if there's anyone else. Mark Point says, thinking of getting an MSI B450-A Pro. Yeah, that is also another very good board. Effectively, if you look at the B450-A Pro and the Tomahawk side by side, it's kind of like they've shared parts. So the heat sinks, I'm pretty sure, are identical. The layout is almost identical. Other than having a different chipset and an additional M.2 and obviously addressable RGB, then that is on there as well. Am I missing anything else out here? No. I think I'll fast forward a little bit and see what is going on. Old Man Withers says, Blinking L Cyrix chips, you're going back a bit now. I am genuinely old. I am actual old. I am almost coming up to my half centenary. Centenary? Whatever it is. I'm getting there. Not too close, but I'll stop there. Captain Meets Adventures says, I will tell you which are the worst gripes. Butt gripes. Is that butt gripes? You missed a T out there.
Bum gripes.
Matthew Day says, I had a Cyrix 686. Yeah, I think... Mike, I think you're a Windows 98. I feel like it sometimes. Old Man Withers says, me too, Mike. Just my brain hasn't grown up yet. I don't think your brain ever grows up. You get some people who are just old all the time. You get some people that are young all the time. And you get some people who are just meh. I think I'm young all the time, but miserable with it. So I'm like a typical teenager, just moody. One minute I'm happy, next minute I'm like, ooh, ooh. That is the exact noise, isn't it? Ooh. Mike, can you do such and such? I do a lot of that, don't I?
But it's only yourself asking yourself.
Yeah, it's me asking myself that often. William Bodie is with us, obviously. William Bodie, I haven't been down to the local shop to pick up my stuff yet, so apologies for that.
Nice.
I will be getting it tomorrow. So, yes, William.
He was asleep on his blanket earlier.
Poppy is using your blanket. Where are we? Richard says, how are those 6500 XTs holding up? They are holding up my shelf currently. Both of them up there. I've still not found a good home for them as of yet. I'm working on it, but yeah, it's a work in progress. Like I said, this week has been an absolute nightmare. Last Saturday I had a really, really bad headache, and I felt like absolute crap. And I think it's just because again, too much sugar and junk food and stuff. So anyway, there we go.
Angel's birthday.
Oh yeah, and it was Angel's birthday as well, so we were stressed out because she'd gone completely missing and what have you. It was just, yeah, stressful. Chris Goddard says, Mike, you mentioned about doing an MSI build. Does that mean you might use the MSI Magforge 100R case like I suggested to you? Was it the Magforge? It's the Vampiric 100R. It's down here somewhere. Oh, it's got stuff on it. Yeah, the Mag Vampiric 100R. I'm not sure if the Forge and the Vampiric are the same thing, but this is the Vampiric 100R. So yes, I will be doing a build in that. Deathstroke says, managed to get a fitting kit from MaX for the Iceberg 240 as I thought it was missing an alternate kit as it wouldn't fit on the MSI B450 Carbon Wi-Fi. But it turns out I had the kit, it just didn't. Okay, that's not great. I was going to suggest actually the B450 Carbon is probably one of the better boards that it is the Carbon Wi-Fi, I would argue, is the best B450 motherboard that was made for that platform. Even against the Strix and things like that, I would say that is the better one. Mark Point says, you still making that Crossfire video for those 6500 XTs? Yes, the video is made and I believe is out to Patreons currently.
I think it's out to members as well, eh?
It might actually be out to members as well if you want to be if you want to be a YouTube member or a Patreon, you can become a Patreon for as little as, I think it's $2 a month. And YouTube membership I think is like £3 or something. It's very cheap. It's very cost effective, and you can watch these crappy videos earlier than everybody else. Minthawk says, hey Mike and everyone, I get a message, app or process blocked, LED Keeper 2.exe on my PC, MSI B450-A Pro Max in the past 2 days. Is there something I should do? Well, you can. Depends what is blocking it. If it is being blocked by your antivirus software, you can just add it to the the safe list. Alternatively, if you're using MSI Dragon Center, uninstall Dragon Center and put on MSI Center instead, which does appear to alleviate that problem for a majority of people due to the way that the new MSI Center integrates Mystic Light into the new center. Yes. Jim's Tech says, Dan, missed start just grabbing a Big Mac meal. Home intend to catch the rest of the show and eating all. No worries, Jim.
Should be out tomorrow.
Enjoy your Big Mac. Oh, Kath's just saying, for members, the SLI video for the 6500 XT will be released tomorrow morning.
Not tomorrow morning.
Not tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. Okay.
So
that'll be released. Chris Hartford says, do a budget PCI 4 build for the 6500 XT. That is going to happen. Kieran, I have not spoken to Inwin today. Sorry. I'll try and drop him a message Monday or Tuesday. Kath, remind me about that. Get in touch with Inwin. They said they were going to send me that at some point. Inwin have got an interesting new cooler, the BR24 and the BR36, 240mm AIO, 360mm AIO also, with a very unusual look to it, which might be a little bit Marmite for some people. I would suggest, if you're unsure, open up a new tab now whilst you're watching this and search for the Inwin BR36. I think you'll be a little bit interested, but I think you'll also be a little bit taken back. It has got one of those kind of wow factors. For some it might be wow, what is that? But for others it might be wow, that looks amazing. So yes, it's very much going to be one of those polarizing things. No problem, Minthawk, glad to help. Mark Point wants a Big Mac, don't blame you. Insomniac Brit says, I have this board, other than the VRMs and Paraphase, it's a good board. 3-pin addressable RGB would have been nice though. I actually completely agree. I'm not reading out Milk Monster's comment there, in fairness to Kieran. That's harsh, but moderately funny. Right, let's move on. So let's talk about the differences. This is the real meat of this. What is the difference between the Tomahawk and the Tomahawk MAX 2 and the Tomahawk MAX? So let's look at the differences between the MAX and the MAX 2, which I think is going to be more relevant because trying to get hold of the older Tomahawk now is extremely difficult. So there's arguably the four key different things are, first of all, this is bizarre, the HDMI port on the back. So the HDMI port on the back, and to some extent the display port, sorry, not the display port, the DVI-D, so hopefully you can see that there, has got a HDMI on the back. They've upgraded the HDMI support, so if you're using an integrated graphics processing unit or an APU, then you can now have, sounds stupid even saying it, you now have this HDMI 2.1, which has been upgraded from HDMI 1.4. So I can hear you saying, but what's the difference? Well, HDMI 1.4 for an APU will do 4K 30 FPS or 30 Hertz. With 2.1, you now get 4K 60 Hertz. So for those of you that are running an APU and want to actually run 4K, this is going to be predominantly for people using media centers. If you're just using the PC for maybe watching stocks and shares, YouTube content, that kind of thing. For gaming, realistically, an APU 4K, forget it. It's not going to happen. Most APUs struggle at 1080p, let alone 4K. And 4K being 4 times the resolution of 1080p, yeah, basically divide any of your numbers by 4 and that is how many FPS you're going to get. So in some titles, you will genuinely be getting both FPS at the same time. 2 FPS. They're going to be that bad. So for gaming purposes, pointless, absolutely pointless. So that is the first upgrade. Is it an upgrade? Let me know in the comments. I feel that upgrading the HDMI port to 2.1 is pointless. Absolutely pointless.
Antonio, before you go on.
Antonio.
Last one.
Why motherboard stuff? That is a very good question, Antonio. I don't know. It's a legacy thing built into the chipset. I genuinely don't know. He's asking why they still put PS2 connectors on. Some people in offices and things like that will still use it. What you have to bear in mind is this board was designed probably back in 2016, possibly even before that. And at which point, there was probably 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, people were still using PS2 ports a lot. Especially offices, that kind of stuff. And even people using things like flight yokes, possibly. It's potential they could be using that. So yeah, it is a legacy port. So I look at my notes now. So the next one, this one is pathetic. It genuinely is pathetic. So the next upgrade from the Max to the Max 2 is the audio. So the original Max version had a Realtek ALC 892 chipset for audio, which is basically a 7.1 surround sound chipset, 48 Hertz, etc., etc. Basically a software codec. They've upgraded it to the Realtek 897. Yay! Which is basically exactly the same. And if you look at the specifications between the 892 and the 897, unless you look at the extremely small print, I don't think there's any difference. I really don't. And in fact, so much so that if you download a driver, generally they amalgamate the 892 and the 897 together. So as far as Windows is concerned, really, it's the same chipset, being it's a codec. So anyway, audio-wise, it's got 6 ports on the back. I think potentially the 897 has the option for an optical output. They haven't integrated it, but it is an option. And I think if you're lucky enough to get one of the later models of the original Max board, you would probably have the 897 anyway. Because I think if you look at the original Max, it did say in the specifications that it was ALC 892 stroke 897. What am I looking?
Nick, remember the audio chip difference was an update due to supply.
Yeah. So yeah, Nick's saying there the audio chip difference was an update due to supply. So the difference between the two is essentially nothing. I'm pretty sure that the 897 was the natural successor for the 892 anyway. So it's not like an upgrade. It's just they had to use it because what they'd originally spec'd for, Realtek had stopped producing, so this is all you could have. Arali says, an audio chipset which is capable of optical but not added in the socket is stupid. Yes, it's not, it's not a very good idea, is it? Nick Monberg says, HDMI not pointless at all. It's also better for audio support plus better 3D. Nick, that is, you're absolutely right, of course, but that is going to be to a very niche market, which is going to be realistically those that are doing Blu-ray playback over an APU. Most people with an APU probably aren't going to be spending a great deal of money on a particularly decent surround receiver or HDMI 3D TV. This is going to support that 3D audio and 3D effects. So although you're absolutely right, like I said, it's kind of the target market for the Tomahawk is gamer. It's not really, it doesn't scream media center, primarily because of the size of the thing. If this was a Tomahawk MAX 2 and they made it in ITX, then you'd be like, wow, yes, that makes perfect sense, because the target market for ITX systems is going to be media centers and those kind of small discrete boxes that would be by the side of a TV, that kind of thing. But yes, I do agree with what you're saying, to some extent. Yes? Antonio.
Up a little bit, not too far. And James Brooks.
Hi James. Brock, and hi James Miscellaneous. The Jameses. You always see them together. I'm sure it's the same person. Antonio says, I understand those about the PS2 ports. Yeah, it's again, it's just a legacy thing. It's a hangover from the past. James Brock, since this is AMD Centre, just saying hello, dropping a like and saying goodbye. Oh, sorry to hear that, James. James says, Arali, I have an MSI video card with a USB controller, but no USB port. So MSI does these things. Yes, they sadly do. Okay, so we've kind of realised now that the HDMI upgrade, okay, for certain instances it makes sense. The audio update is one that was forced upon them rather than being a update.
HDMI was the same case apparently.
That was it? Right, okay, HDMI is the same port.
Standard supplies wise.
Right, so yeah, so that is essentially it. The next one is memory. Now the memory upgrade is basically an XMP profile change. It doesn't actually make it any faster. So both boards support DDR4 4133 MHz as the top speed. For some instances, going back to what was said earlier about upgrading to 128 gigabytes of RAM, potentially for those slightly more niche cases, you may find that there's better memory support for the larger RAM sizes, so 64 gigs, 128 gigs. You may find that to be increased. Realistically, for the majority, I would say that probably 90% of users, 95% of users, if you're going to be using 8 gigs, 16 gigs, or 32 gigs, it's going to be exactly the same thing. So you're not going to notice one difference between it being the Max 1 or the Max 2. What they have added in part of the XMP profile is some more, slightly more, I would consider niche memory speeds. So they've added support for 3866 RAM, which I've actually never physically seen. I've never seen one of those in real life. I'm sure they exist. I've never seen them. I think they also added DDR4 3933 or some other bizarre spec. So previously it jumped from like about 3800 up to, I think it was 4000. whereas now they've just filled in the gaps between those, which makes kind of no sense. Again, slightly disingenuous to say that the memory frequencies are enhanced, being that realistically the memory controller is on the processor. So depending on what processor you put on the board, it is going to have a relatively big effect on what RAM you can actually use. Anyway, if you're using an APU, chances are you're going to be limited in some instances with XMP at 3200, maybe 3433 if you're lucky. Again, it's going to depend on the processor, the RAM. It's a very, very grey area, especially when it comes down to things like CAS latencies, timings, all that kind of stuff. Your mileage will definitely vary, as they say. So that's the third one. So the first one is the HDMI port, so that's meh. Then you've got the Realtek audio, which is again meh. The RAM is pointless effectively, because who in their right mind is going to go out and buy some DDR4 3933 or whatever it is at the moment? I've never seen it. I'm sure it exists, but I've never seen it. So the last one is probably the kind of the main factor, but is also pointless. It's not very positive. This is the fourth strike, and they're still at 0 yards. It's not looking good. So the biggest benefit of this particular version over the previous Max version, the Tomahawk MAX was designed because when it came out with the 2000 series processors, the 3000 were coming out, so they had to have a way of updating the BIOS easily. Other manufacturers were doing it, so they jumped on board. With the Max 2, because it's slightly newer, so this has got Ryzen 3000 series processor support baked in from the initial BIOS. Whereas the previous Max version, you had to update for 3000 series. 2000 series were completely covered, but the 3000 series mostly weren't. There might have been a very odd one like the 3400G, which was because it was a 2000 series processor in theory, but anyway. So yeah, this has got Ryzen 2 support straight out of the box. BIOS version H0 supports it straight away. It still doesn't support the Ryzen 5000 series out of the box. Now, obviously, depending when you buy it and where in the production cycle it's come out, you may find on the box there's a sticker that says Ryzen 5000 series ready. If it has, that means it's got BIOS version H4 or newer already flashed onto the board. But the Max 2, when it was kind of visualized and made into a product, it didn't have the 5000 series support. It had 3000 support baked in. So that is the key difference, that you could buy a 3000 series processor like a Ryzen 5 3600, stick it on this, and it would work straight out of the box. That is basically the takeaway of why this is the Max 2 rather than the Max. Which, those are the 4 reasons. I'm completely underwhelmed. So, effectively, 3 of the reasons are necessity. So the HDMI port, the Realtek audio, and the memory XMP is basically they had to, because they probably didn't have any choice, because it was just part of it. Right, Poppy. And the last one is basically because of how old it was, the BIOS would have been ready for it. So to answer the burning question is there any point of getting the Max 2 over the Max 1? The only reason you would choose this is A, if it was either the same price or cheaper, the only one available, or you didn't want to flash the BIOS yourself and you wanted to use a Ryzen 3000 series processor, which is unlikely because trying to buy a Ryzen 3000 series processor now is very, very difficult and often extremely expensive. So there you have it. Now, reasons why you shouldn't buy this board, we will delve into that very slightly. For me personally, there are 2 key reasons why I would probably avoid this board and go with B550. Now, the first one is going to be down to... Hello, Poppy. How you doing? Go on in. Poppy's going to go and sleep by the keyboard now. Just don't press escape because you'll close the stream. Night.
That's her nighttime place.
Here, have a microfiber to lie on. There you go. Have a pillow. See, I do care for animals a little bit.
I think you should like scratch the back of your head.
Right, Pops. Gonna sleep? Alright, you keep an eye on things back there. Make sure the stream's going, alright? Keep an eye on the green bit on the screen.
Ugly Bob says, hi, Poppy, door climber.
Poppy door climber.
Or
Not
Poppy
impressed with
Dora.
that. Not impressed with that. Okay, let's move on. So, what was I going to say before I was rudely interrupted by that damn cat?
Questions, I think.
Where are we? Oh yeah, reasons why I wouldn't. So, the first reason is going to be the M.2 slot. There's only a single M.2 slot on this board, which again is very indicative of its time. The B450 chipset, kind of M.2 drives were starting to become slightly more mainstream, but they're still relatively expensive for what they were. So there is that to it. Poppy the boss, yes, she is. One redeeming factor of this is because you've got two PCI Express 16 times slots, or size slots rather. This one's only an 8 times slot. PCI Express Gen 2. Don't press escape.
Sorry.
Obviously that is PCI Express Gen 2, so you are going to potentially limit yourself in terms of if you put an expansion card in there for a PCI Express Gen 3 times 4 drive. I'm not entirely sure how that works. If you've got PCI Express Gen 2 times 8, does that translate to 3 times 4? I don't think it does. I think you'd get PCI Express Gen 2 times 4. Yeah, 2 times 4. I don't know. But basically you'll be leaving performance on the table. So not brilliant, but yes. You could add another M.2 NVMe drive on there should you wish to. Or a couple of M.2 SATA drives using that bus. You could do that, obviously. The other thing for me is addressable RGB. Now, I know it's a stupid thing to say, but as you can probably tell, I like addressable RGB. And for someone building a system, if you're looking on the market now for a case, pretty much most cases are going to have addressable RGB either in the form of a controller or addressable RGB fans. So having addressable RGB on the board is useful, especially in my instance where I'm planning to do an MSI themed build using MSI control center with the case, with the motherboard, with the keyboard, mouse, etc. So they'll all support it. It just means I won't be able to use addressable RGB from the motherboard. I'll have to use RGB from the motherboard and addressable for everything else. So it kind of works, but ideally I would have liked for it all to synchronize together properly rather than it just do kind of weird rainbow stuff. Actually, I'm going to be interested to see how MSI Sensor copes with the combination of addressable RGB in things like the keyboard and mouse, but not with the motherboard. I think it's going to be fine, but anyway, it would have been nice to be able to tie in a case to this particular motherboard. Those are the only two reasons, really. The VRM, albeit very good.
Heat sinks, were they grey on the other one?
On the Tomahawk, I don't think.
Miscellaneous said as black heat sinks, didn't the old one have grey?
I'm not entirely sure if it did. It might have had grey heat sinks on the original Tomahawk. I'm not sure if the Max did or not. I'll have to get some pictures up. I'm pretty sure it was identical. I could be wrong there. But yeah, if it is, again, it's a very subtle change. The actual VRM itself is identical. So I think you've got 4029s on the high side, 4024s on the low side. It's a 4+2, like I said. It is what it is. You've still got the same amount of fan headers. So there's 5 fan headers, 4 for fans, 1 for a pump. Yeah, other than that, it is pretty much that exact same thing. So, yes, that is the board and what it does. So now, what we're going to do, time is it? It's 10 past 10, so we're not doing too bad. No, can't see. No. Nick says, Tomahawk has 12-volt RGB, so you can sync up keyboard, etc. with MSI software. Yeah, the keyboard and mouse will sync up easily enough. I'm not too sure. I'm gutted about the case. I am gutted about the case, but we'll see. If it turns out to be something which is annoying, then I might just get rid of this or put it to the side and get the B550 Pro VDH and put that in there. It's if I pick up a cheap one, which potentially I might do. Mark Point says, need to get another Intel. I'm potentially going to get another Intel setup done shortly. I'm looking at the 12th gen stuff. The motherboards still need to come down in price. Realistically, even with the processors being as cheap as they are, the motherboards are still hella expensive for what they are. And being that the motherboard is one of those things which is actually quite a sizable investment for Intel, it can't really compete budget-wise. Performance-wise, definitely not a problem. ClickTech Kev's in the house. Says, what case? It is going to be the MSI Vampiric 100R. Good to see you. Musical Fan says, why did MSI remove fast boot from BIOS? I don't think it's actually needed in BIOS anymore, because they've got kind of a fast boot type thing within Windows, but the two are different things. I think motherboards now are so quick that fast boot is kind of pointless. I think on a motherboard, fast boot, all it does is it just doesn't do as many checks as it would have done previously, which I think is more of a hangover from CSM days, whereas now with UEFI, it doesn't really need to do it. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. William Bodie says, by the way, Noctua 120mm, 25mm I did buy, comes with 4 LEDs and a USB to fan cable. Did you know about the LEDs? No, I didn't know. Noctua 120mm. I'll have to look into that. That's an interesting one. Very strange. James was saying, so I disable fast startup on Windows on my work laptop and all home machines. Yeah, fast startup in Windows rather than the BIOS is basically, rather than doing a clean boot, fast boot essentially loads up most of Windows from what your last used configuration was to make it faster to load. So if you were having problems previously, you potentially could still be having problems after restarting your PC, which is a little bit mad. Hugh Luttrell says, isn't DDR5 really expensive? Yeah, I wouldn't go down the DDR5 route, I would go with the DDR4 setup. O'Reilly says, correct Mike, CSM days there was a fast boot, which meant that not all post tests were done. Thank you very much. ClickTech Kev sent us £5. Says, much love. Thank you very much. It is our anniversary today, 26 years of marriage. And I've got no hair to prove it.
Oh, you robbed me.
Nice one, Kev. Chris Hartford says, there's a fast shutdown in Windows power settings, always disable that. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to have a slurp of my tea, which I've stupidly left on the other side of the room. Talk amongst yourself while I slurp.
Probably would have knocked it over by now.
Yeah. Oh, I'm dripping tea. Right, that's better. Okay, so let's get on. Let's do a BIOS update, and then I'm gonna try and brick it. This is obviously not a good idea, so yeah, probably don't try this at home. I'm doing this purely in the name of science and stupidity. So the caveat, I'm going to say this again. If you're flashing a motherboard, don't interrupt the process. Don't unplug the power. Let it do what it needs to do. Otherwise, potentially your system will be unusable. And depending on where you've bought the motherboard from, it may or may not be under warranty and possibly won't be covered. So please, please don't try this yourselves. Unless you have a motherboard which you're prepared to lose. So hopefully that's clear and we know where we're coming from, you and I. it's just me and you here. We're just having a cool chat with each other. I know it's fun to do these things, but please, genuinely don't do this. You can do the second part to try and recover a BIOS if you've already managed to mess it up, but the first part, avoid if possible. So, we're going to flash the BIOS on this motherboard. So first thing we need is a USB stick. We're obviously going to need a power supply to power the motherboard. We're going to need a motherboard. You might need the I/O shield. Now this board hasn't got an I/O shield integrated, it's got a separate one. So what you'll need to do is have a look on the back of the motherboard I/O shield, and you'll see that one of the ports there, actually if I put that closer, you never know, the camera might even focus on that. Is it focusing on that?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know. No, it's not.
No.
Go down a bit.
No? Okay, we'll give up on that. Essentially, it's got a little marker on there which tells you which one it is. But for those of you that can't focus on the camera, which the camera can't, it's basically this one here, the USB 2 port underneath the PS2 port. So you'd be putting your USB stick into that port there. So that's all well and good, you say, Mike. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to have to find ourselves a BIOS. So let's open up another tab there. Oh God, what have I clicked on now? I shouldn't be allowed out on my own. Right, let's do that one. And we'll maximize this. Talk amongst yourselves. Right, there we go. So let's go over to desktop mode. Hopefully that is visible. Oh, I haven't got rid of that bit, have I? Hang on a moment. Let's go back. And we'll clear that one. That's right, and go back to desktop. Oops, you didn't see that, it's fine. Okay, so we're going to go over to Tomahawk MAX 2. And hopefully you guys can still hear me. Yeah, it looks like the microphone's working. You have to let Kath know in the chat if not. So let's go over to their website.
Might sound daft question, but aren't 4,000 CPUs for laptops? Are they viable in a desktop?
They are, because they're OEM chips, the 4000. Let's put the USB stick in. So let's start off with the obvious thing. So let's format the USB stick just to be on the safe side. So make sure you set it to FAT32. Default allocation size is fine. You can, if you want to, you can leave it to 16 kilobytes. It'll probably go to that anyway. But default is fine. If you've got anything in here, volume label, get rid of that, because that is generally not necessary. So we can get rid of that. And we'll erase that. Make sure the drive obviously can be formatted. There's nothing on there that you need. Then look for the motherboard. So MSI B450 Tomahawk MAX 2. And head over to the supports tab there. You've got options for BIOS. If you're not sure which BIOS you need, you can go to compatibility and then go to CPU. And you've got a long list of CPUs, so you can scroll down through until you find the one you want. Which actually there's a ton of them on here, because this actually board supports pretty much every processor from the humble Ryzen 3 1200 right away up to the one below it, which is the Ryzen 9 5950X. So basically you've got every single processor that was ever made on the AM4 platform is supported on this board, which is actually pretty darn cool. So the first processors were all supported on H0 BIOS, and if you wanted a 5000 series, then you're going to need BIOS H4. So let's see what BIOSes are actually available. Go back to download. And so we've got H6 is the latest. Now H6 is probably a bad one to go with. Reason being is the newer GISA code 1.2.0.5 actually contains a lot of bugs in it. And in fact, a lot of manufacturers are skipping the BIOS update to 12.05 and jumping straight to 12.06. So probably a good idea to avoid that one at present. So we're going to go with H5. So click on that one, download, we'll save it to our desktop. And then we can minimize that because we don't need it. Oh, and then I have to realize that it's on the other screen. Let's drag that over. There we go. So there's our BOS file, so we're going to extract that. And, oh, let's stick it on the other desktop, you stupid computer. It's because this isn't my primary display. So there we go, actually where you want to extract it. So we're going to extract it there. And there is our BIOS folder. So H5, and inside there we've got two files. Two files? I nearly said folders and files at the same time. That came out very wrong. So there is our BIOS file, and if you look at the actual size of it, let's drag that across a little bit. So you can see the sizes of the files there. So running about 32 megabytes is what you want to be seeing. So this one's 32,000 kilobytes, which is basically 32 megabytes. And we're going to need to rename the file. So you're going to have to make sure that you've got hidden file extensions and known file extensions available. Once you have, you can go in and just change this and call it MSI .rom. Now actually you can do it in uppercase or lowercase, but I'm going to do it in lowercase. I must have had caps lock on from previously. Once you've done that, click OK, and it'll come up with an error message saying if you change a file name extension, it might become unusable. It will be unusable in Windows, but that's not a problem because we're not using it in Windows. We're going to be using it on our motherboard, which recognizes the ROM file. I actually get asked this a lot, and they say, well, why can't you just leave it as the file name? It's because it needs to see a ROM file in order to run the program. If it sees anything else other than ROM, it will ignore it entirely because it doesn't understand what it is. It's like expecting to hear English and having French. It just makes no sense. So you can't understand it, you can't use it. So what we can do now, right click on that, and we can do copy. And we're going to go to our USB drive, and we're going to right click and we're going to choose paste. Boosh, there we go. So our ROM file is now on our USB drive. So
how'd you get
we can close that now and remove it. Sorry?
How'd you get a code with no power, or you plugged in the 24 and forgot the 8 pinners?
How'd you what?
Get a code with no power.
A code?
Oh, sorry, he's talking to a letter. Sorry.
Right, let's remove the USB drive. Oh, that's toasty. Right, let's go back to main. Hopefully that's working. I can't tell because I can't see anything. Yep, that's working. Awesome. And let's get my windows back open here. Sorry about this. I am moderately prepared. Moderately being the word. Is that working? How do you get a code with no power? Right. Okay, let's clear that. So we've got our USB stick, so we can stick that back into the motherboard. Stick it into this port here. The BIOS update button is on the back, which probably most of you know this already. So we're going to need to plug in two forms of power. One's going to be the 24 pin, so we're going to stick that straight into the main 24 pin connector on the motherboard. We're also going to need to plug in the EPS connector. This one takes an 8 pin, as you can just about see there, hopefully. I've only got a 4 pin on this one, but it's absolutely fine. You can use a 4 pin if you don't have an 8 pin available. So that is that done. Don't need anything else. No memory, no processor, no graphics card. And this is actually the ideal way of doing it. So we plugged in our power supply. So now what we want to do is, there's 3 parts of the BIOS update process. So the first part is the BIOS kind of system initializing. This will generally be a series of very slow pulsings from the LED. Then it's going to change speed. It's going to go fast. So that means then it's actually reading the information off the USB stick. Then it's going to flash slower again. Now the flashing slower at the very end is where it's actually writing the new BIOS. So that is the area where we want to actually kill the process during the writing process. So, Kath?
They said the cat's going to jump on the thing and...
Don't jump anywhere.
She ain't going anywhere.
Be still. So anyway, so we're waiting for the third set of flashing. So it's going to flash slow, flash fast, flash slow. And when it starts flashing slow, I'm going to rip out the cord at the back. And then it's basically dead. So in order to start the flash process, we press and hold the button. You normally want to hold it for the count of 2 or 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then release it. Now it may not spring to life immediately. That is absolutely normal, although slightly terrifying. And there we see. Now it's started up. The flashing LED is on there. The fans started up on the PSU, and we've got some LEDs going on the back here. And you can probably just see the CPU LED is on there to say that there's no CPU attached, which we know because it's empty. So now I've got to look in the camera lens, and I can see in the reflection, I can see the LED flashing away. So currently that is flashing at the kind of the regular speed. So I'm going to keep an eye on it. You guys keep an eye on it as well for me. Let me know in the chat. Scream out when it changes speed. And then we're going to look for it to change the next speed, because the third part is the most important bit. So this bit now is just initializing the flash BIOS system, which if you kill the power now, it makes no difference at all, because it's basically just loading its own kind of firmware into the system. Anyway, you get the general idea. So yeah, I can just basically, I can actually see the reflection in the camera lens. That's pretty cool. Okay. O'Reilly says, Poppy, bang, bang, bang. She blew the stream, bang, bang. Poppy, yeah, don't press the escape key. That is a bad thing to do. Don't do it. ClickTech Kev says, haha, some things don't change. No, they don't. They literally don't. Trev Good says, I am back. When did you go? Was it earlier? Did I miss that in the chat? I do apologise. Yeah, you've all said it, you bastards. Slow pulsings. Thank you, James. That is the sensible thing. So that is what we've got. We're waiting for faster pulsings. Oh. Am I dead? Is this hell? SC says, hi Mike, Kath and Fluffy Cats. How you doing, SC? William Bodie's laughing. He likes that a lot. Deathstroke says, it's behind you. It is. Now we know why Mike is bold. Yes, exactly. Right, there we go. I've just caught it, and the LED is now flashing faster. So at the moment, it's now currently reading the BIOS file actually from the USB stick. So at this point, we could, I suppose, really just pull the USB stick out, which would effectively stop the reading process, but I don't think it would stop the erase process. I could be completely wrong. It has happened. John Sullivan says, faster pulsement. We have warp speed. James Miscellaneous says, the BIOS flash will fail because the 24-pin ATX power cable is unattractive. Stop moving, Poppy. You're moving my mouse. There's a mouse there and a mouse there, and both are connected, so she's actually moving the thing.
She is the most technical cat we've ever had.
I tried to get her to actually use a mouse earlier. She was watching the mouse on the screen when I was installing Windows, and I was trying to get her to put her paw on the mouse so that she would realise that there's a correlation between her moving her paw on the mouse and the mouse moving. If I could train her to use a keyboard and a mouse, I would actually be probably one of the most famous people on YouTube, I think. Possibly.
Not.
Other than that man who cut off his bits. Is he? No, he's not on YouTube, is he? I don't. Okay. Do it. Pull it for science, O'Reilly says. I haven't got time for that. I'm trying to do a BIOS flash. The mouse will go down. It is. Poppy, piss off. Right, stay.
But she is quite technical, isn't she?
She is a bit technical. Should be doing a BIOS update of her own soon. Right, is it flashing the other speed now? That appears to be slower to me. Someone let me know in the chat. It appears it is, I think. Oh, where's the mouse disappeared to now? Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, that appears to be update. So that is doing the slow speed now, so whatever. Oops. So now, effectively, this is what would happen if there was a power cut. Deathstroke says I can't see it. Well, you can't see it now because it's turned off. It was there. They can't see anything. You should. Oh, because the James Miscellaneous's post was there.
Yeah.
Sorry. It was in that corner, so it was flashing. Trust me on this. So, anyway, I pulled the power due halfway through. It didn't do a restart or reset because we would have heard that. Yeah, sorry, the chat banner was covering it. I'm an arse. James, it's all your fault. Right, no more chats. Well, you can chat, but obviously I'm not going to put it on the screen. So now effectively we've got a dead motherboard. So I'm going to press and hold the power button, the flash button again. For the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And hopefully this will light up shortly. I'm actually genuinely a little bit concerned now. Oh no, here we are. It has started doing something and the BIOS flash LED is flashing. Hopefully you can actually see it now. Yes, you can. Bang, says Bob. Oh, did you hear that? That's my shoulder clicking out. Mother. See, that's what happens when you get old. Stuff stops working. We're not like fine wine, are we? We're really not. This is a stressful situation now. Because if I do kill this, I'm screwed a little bit, really. I will be slightly happy at the same time, but not. It's never a good thing to destroy a board, even if it is for science. And we are not Linus Tech Tips. So we can't just destroy thousands and thousands of pounds worth of equipment just for the fun of it, to see what happens. James Miscellaneous says, nah man, it'll be fine. This ain't some trash ASRock or Giga Trash board. All I see is Asus and MSI on the stream. Acceptable boards. Asus? I'm actually going to be going back to that board in my video editing rig very shortly. Even though at the moment I've got probably one of the best boards in there, which is the Gaming Edge Wi-Fi, which is a fantastic board. But, yes, anyway. Darren says, you need grease up, Mike. Excuse me? I need to grease up?
That's because you're going to pull it out.
Oh, of course, yeah, me, everything aching and, yeah, I know what you mean. The Trojans come in with a super chat, a very timely one, with $5 Australian and says, contribution to a new motherboard. Thank you. Hopefully it won't come to that. I have got my, my processor on standby, so we can fire this up and see what happens. I've actually got my little portable monitor here. Got it ready this time, because I kind of knew this was going to be something which we were going to do. Excuse me. Darren, yes, I know, it's a contribution. Where'd you get £5 for a pizza? Are you lucky? O'Reilly says Mike changes boards in his video editing rig as much as I keep restarting my World and Conan Exiles. Damn builds. I want to do it. There's various reasons why I want to do it. And there's various reasons why I'm very hesitant to do it. One of which probably means a reinstall of Windows, which is actually long overdue because I've had Windows 10 on there. I then upgraded to Windows 11. I've changed boards in there 3 times without a Windows update, without a Windows fresh install. The system is running okay, but I feel it could run better. Do you ever get that feeling, you know, when your system feels like it's okay, but every now and then there's just little things which you think, is that a remnant from something else or not? So I'm going to give it a try. Aletta says, why do I feel like I'm back in the 70s again?
She's not waxed.
Yeah. What did you say, Kath?
She's not waxed.
Kath said, I can get away with this, because Kath said, it says, why, have you not waxed? I think Kath is maybe referring to what can only be referred to as 70s bush. If are we allowed to say that at this time of night on YouTube? We're past the watershed. It's absolutely fine. Is that still flashing? Yeah. Okay, we're good. Thanks to Kath for taking my mind off the bars flash with the thought of 70s bush. Oh dear. Darren says, yep, the Matrix. Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah, it is like the Matrix. Like, my computer is running like it should do, but every now and then there's just something not quite right. And I keep on thinking I'm going to wake up and Adobe Premiere will start working properly. O'Reilly says, who gives a monkeys? Say anything you want, Mike. I can't say anything I want because YouTube are the new... something I can't say. Yes, Kath's got it on screen at the moment. Where are those pictures from?
They're from
Is that on the NAS?
No. Taken at the Isle of Feeney in Bristol.
Are they on your computer?
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm looking for our wedding photo.
Ah. Kath's looking for our wedding photo so you can see me with my 70s bush on my head.
I don't know if I'll find it though.
Nick Monberg says, Windows 11 is a broken mess. Stay well clear. I've got to be honest with you, actually, this week, the new Windows 11 update has added quite a few new features. And I actually quite like it. The first one, actually, is the fact that I've now got the time and the date actually on both monitors. It's like stupid little things like that which actually make a difference. And also, you've got the weather app, which is integrated back where it was with Windows 11, Windows 10. Is that Fight Zeno says skinhead? Thank you. You're right. That is my head, and it is mostly skin. John Sullivan says the mob will come after you. Jim's Tech says typical PC builder is Mike always looking for an excuse to upgrade or build a new rig. I am. I wanted to do an all MSI build for my main editing PC, but I kind of realise now that that's a little bit kind of short-sighted, and there's some things which I've got here which I would prefer to use which don't fall under that category. One of which is one of my mice. My wireless mouse isn't... Poppy, don't do that. Just don't stretch over the keyboard. Get it. Don't press help. I don't want to have help. Sorry about that. Sorry, Sooty's getting out of control. Stop. Yes, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I want to go back, so I'm going to use the Asus motherboard. I'm then going to go back to using my Corsair fans in my editing rig, because I actually like the way that they work with signal RGB. That works for me very, very well. I'm then going to use the Corsair keyboard, my H70. At the moment, I'm kind of torn because I'm currently using the MSI is it KB50 Elite, and I actually really like the keyboard. I genuinely do, and it's a little bit smaller as well, so it fits on my desk very nicely. But I kind of want to go back to my X570 chipset. I don't know why. Is that a bit too nerdy to want to go back to X570 from B550? There doesn't seem to be any point. Ah, when did my BIOS LED go out? And did that restart? I didn't see it restart. I didn't hear the fan stop either. What?
You going on and on and on, forgetting what you're doing.
Right, Trojan says the light stopped flashing. Thank you. Rob Bomford says, even Mike in chat, how you doing, Rob? O'Reilly says the LED's out. Okay, so how long did that take, roughly? I was paying no...
22:41.
22
a minute ago.
So, what, it started flashing?
It stopped.
How long was it flashing for, roughly? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? Right, okay. Hugh Luttrell says, I have 7 boxes running now and a real pain to do Windows updates on them all. in a row. Yes, it is a pain. Grexer or GRGXR. What happened to the gaming chair that you were reviewing a few weeks ago? My son has stolen it already. It was kind of for him anyway. I only agreed to do the review because I've literally got no room for a gaming chair in this tiny, tiny little studio setup we've got here. This room is tiny. It really is. I've said it before, I'll say it again. This room is 11 foot by 12 foot and it contains all of this crap, 2 big IKEA desks, 2 other big IKEA workstation desks, a wood burner, and all the other stuff that goes along with this. So it's, yeah, I just literally haven't got room for it. It's nice actually, I've got a tiny little stool here so I can just move around easily, and yeah, having a big gaming chair in this room is not appropriate. It's just too much to deal with for getting around. Kath's got one and it drives me insane having to walk past it all the time, but whatever. Okay. Right, I've got no idea. Riley, I wish I had a porta potty. That would make life much more interesting.
There's always someone in the toilet.
There is always someone in the toilet in this house. Right, I think, well, realistically, we should have recovered the BIOS. I think. So, I think probably a good idea is to pull the plug once again. That's gone well. So, let's get a processor, which I'll lean over here whilst sucking in the guts. And we're going to need some RAM, so let's grab a stick of RAM. Oh, I'm going to need a cooler as well, aren't I? A cooler. Actually, Ugly Bob, God bless his heart, has sent us for review purposes the MSI GT RGB CPU cooler. This is actually on offer at the moment on Amazon. Kath will probably put a link in the chat shortly. These are great little coolers. I did the MSI 400 before, which is kind of that's predecessor. Didn't have all the RGB stuff on, but actually a really, really good cooler for the money. MSI GT. What do I need? I need a CPU cooler. What can I use? I know.
There's only UK in there.
Oh, there should be one in here. So talk amongst yourselves a minute. I'm going to get this fired up and see if it actually survived. I'm pretty sure it would have done. I'll be amazed if it didn't. If it doesn't boot, what I'll probably end up having to do is to just try and reflash it again, but it's not the end of the world. It only takes a few minutes to do. So this is our Ryzen 3 4300G. What a cool little processor that is. I'm very, very pleased I picked that up actually. And again, thanks, Seam at Night. You probably won't watch this. I don't think you watch many of the videos, but it does do a stellar job on our Discord of posting an absolute ton of bargains and stuff every single day. Even when he's on his deathbed, dying with the flu and stuff, still posting deals. Absolutely top guy. So thank you for that. But watch the videos. So one. Now, on a side note, V-Color, if you're watching, which you probably won't be, but if you are, please explain why. Why would you put pastel diffusers on your RAM? That makes no sense. The newer stuff is clear and it looks awesome. But pastel, I can't imagine what kind of gear they were smoking that day when they went into the manager's office and they said, oh, what can we do? What can we do which is different, which we can patent? I know, let's put pastel colours on our RAM sticks. That's a great idea. No offence, V-Color. I do love your RAM and it is extremely stable. And in fact, the V-Color RAM was the only stuff that I actually found to work in my Tough Gaming board, which, as a lot of you will know, is a problematic swine at the best of times. So let's get some thermal paste, just cheap crap on there. I'm not going to bother wasting any MX stuff on there because I'm only going to end up taking it apart again.
These are comments, are you?
I can see them, yeah.
Um,
I can't probably answer them, but I can see them.
Adam Gamer and the one above. I can't.
Adam Gamer, hey man, what's the difference between the Pro Max and the Tomahawk? The Dash A Pro Max is essentially the same board. There's very, very little between them. I think the Dash, that's the M Pro. So the B450 M A-Pro Max is a micro ATX board, whereas the Tomahawk is always going to be an ATX style board. So the kind of inherent differences are going to be the simple things like extra PCI Express ports and that kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure they're both essentially identical. There's not a great deal in them. You've probably got bigger heat sinks on the, oh actually, better VRM as well. Slightly different VRM setup on the Tomahawk as opposed to the Max. I think. The Tomahawk as opposed to the Dash Pro, or Dash A Pro.
Zeffy above, is it?
I'm multitasking. Zeffy's asking, Mike, remember our little chat in the comments about my Ryzen 5 3300, the 3350G and the B550 motherboard?
And then a bit lower, I decided to go with an i5.
Oh, right, okay. Went with... Okay. Yeah, you probably decided to go with a better option there. Kieran, I've not got an idea actually. I've not heard from Kim Tego for a little while. They did send an email not long ago about some other products which are coming, but they're still looking for a distributor for the UK. My money would say that most of the time, because of our kind of tax year, and most countries are in a very similar boat, the tax year is in April. So any new contracts or any new distribution kind of contracts like that sort of thing will be finalised in like late March, early April. So any new deals will come out in the next tax year, which also as well, if there's a distributor which is rubbish or they're not living up to their side of the bargain, then the company would then transfer it at the end of the tax year, which is kind of normal practice. So hopefully they'll find someone, or they've got someone already and they're just waiting for it to kind of go live. Quite often, a lot of these companies, because they've already got an existing contract with another vendor for either RAM or whatever the product may be. What's that not going on there? They don't always announce it until it's all kind of signed, sealed and delivered, just so that nobody gets the hump. Right, what else do I need? So I got that. I need a monitor. That'll be useful. Let's clear the deck a little bit so we've got some room to move here. I'll have a look in your comments and see if anything else. Tristan G's in the house. How you doing, Tristan? Adam says thanks. Zefix says thanks for the opinion, not a problem. My opinions are just that, they are just my opinions. Although you may come here thinking that I am some kind of expert in my field in some way, shape or form, I'm not. Literally all of my opinions are formed on experience and research. I'm far from an expert, but if you ask me a question, I'll give you an honest answer. Cold tea, lovely jubbly. Okie dokie. Right, let's get this monitor plugged in. So we want HDMI, and I can never remember which one of these ports is the right one. So let's go with. It does say on there actually power and touchscreen. That felt like it didn't go in. She said. I don't know what Kath's thinking now. Read you like a book after 26 years plus. Right, HDMI. Let's have some power. Oh, we're not going to have any keyboard and mouse support, are we? Because actually, let's do that. I'll unplug my cordless.
What do you think about the trend of GPUs getting cheaper?
I think GPUs are, well, the retail prices are getting cheaper, but then the inflation rates are kind of balancing that out. So you might be saving on one thing, but you're losing out on another. But it's a step in the right direction. This time of year, they always do. I think you'll find any year where that hasn't been the case. It's that time of year. People are trying to offload stock because tax year coming to an end, etc., etc. Yeah. It's not unexpected. Right. Let's see if this works. Tell you what, if I plug the power supply in, that will make things work possibly more. Or at least give them a fighting chance of working. Let's do... Oh, you fucking...
Sorry, Poppy.
Hello? DivorceLawyers.com. 26. Yeah. A fortune? Okay. Right, moving on. You guys are going to see this before I do. I don't even want to look. Hopefully you can see the screen. Actually, I can as well. So CPU light is on currently. It's rebooting, I think. It's rebooting, it's memory training. It's gone to VGA. It's gone to boot. Success. There we go. It is on last screen.
Foxy Stu.
So that says, Jesus, that's small. Ryzen 3 4300 GE with Radeon graphics speed 100 times 35 equals 3500 megahertz. DRAM frequency DDR4 2600 dual channel. DDR RAM size is 16 gigabytes. So there we go. You can possibly see some of that. Yes.
Foxy Stu.
So, it repaired Foxy Stoat. The Max 2 is a way to sell an outdated old BIOS with TPM enabled to Windows users, ready to be harvested by Big Tech Rise. My friends, the penguin awaits. Thanks, Foxy Stoat. I think there is definitely some truth in that. Yeah. The Max 2, I suppose really kind of we should be summarising now because it's getting to that time. But to summarise, the Max 2 is in no way a bad board. So let me just get that out there straight away before anyone says, oh, why do you think it's a bad board? I don't think it's a bad board. I would say, I believe MSI have been disingenuous with the Max 2. They could have just quite easily called it the Tomahawk MAX still, as it was previously, and just slowly integrated the features into it. I don't think anyone would have cared. I don't think anyone would have noticed. The fact is, if you look at the Tomahawk MAX, a lot of the Max boards have got the same audio chip anyway, because of matter of course. The Max will be discontinued, so the Max 2 will be the one on the shelves. So yeah, it's the naming of the product is my problem with it. The board itself is fine, the specs are fine, it does what it needs to do, and it does it actually at a really good price. So you can't argue with that. It's just the whole like 2. Anything which has got a 2 or a Mark 2 or a revision something, you'd normally expect there to be some kind of tangible increase in performance, but I guess there's a lot of that around at the moment. Anyway.
Can you do Platinum?
Platinum's AI...
I have.
Oh yeah. AI...
It's probably a caps button miss and done the
Yeah.
next to it.
I have a red light on my motherboard. What can it mean? Platinum, that is...
But it depends where the light is.
Yeah. It depends where the light is. Like some boards have got red lights. Like this board has got some on the back, which are highly unuseful. In fact, I still don't understand why on earth they decided to do that on the Tomahawk boards. Why put LEDs on the back of the board? It makes no sense whatsoever. It's like they had a glut of red RGBs and they're like, where can we stick these? I know, let's stick them on the back of the motherboard because everybody's going to look there. Absolutely pointless. Yeah, it depends where the red light is and what the red light signifies. It could just be something simple like you're missing a power cable. There's numerous graphics cards and motherboards which will have a light come on to say there isn't enough power going to the PCI Express ports. Potentially it could be that. My suggestion would be head over to our Discord. You can show us some pictures, post some pictures on the Discord, and we can give you an honest appraisal and say what we think is going on and hopefully get rid of it. It might not be anything serious. If the PC itself is working, then yeah, I really wouldn't worry about it. SC says new pants for Mike. Yay!
Go down a bit. How big is the keyboard behind you? That's massive.
How big is the keyboard? It's just a normal 101 key keyboard.
But it's a kitten behind it.
There is a kitten behind it.
She isn't a full size.
She's not full size yet. She's only a small kitten. But yeah, keyboard is the MSI GK30. I think. Can't see. Box up there somewhere. Yeah. It's sounded like Biden, didn't it? The box is up there somewhere. Who am I? I think. Sorry, political, shouldn't go there. Platinum says, is 30°C Celsius a good temperature for idle for a 12600K? Yep, sounds very good. Obviously, depending on the room temperature. If your room temperature is like -5, then no. If your average room temperature is around about 20 degrees, then I would say, yeah, 30 degrees is excellent. Nick Momberg says, motherboards have always been like this. They used to call them revisions. Yeah, they do, which is ironic actually, because on the motherboard here, it says MSI 7C02, which is the Tomahawk designation, version 3.1. So Tomahawk version 1, Tomahawk MAX version 2, Tomahawk 3 version 3, and this is 0.1, so this is the first version of that. What are you doing? Do you know what? Kath was biting her hand because she's got itchy hand, and as I was talking, her hand was going like I was speaking, so I thought she was taking the piss out of me. She's going. I'm so used to her taking the piss out of me. It's just like difficult to tell these days.
Because you never take out of me.
No. Matthew Day says full-size keyboard 60% kitten. They are
She's
absolutely right.
Quite big now, isn't she?
Mark Point says it's adult time. Yeah, the red light on the motherboard could potentially be a porn zone on the motherboard. MSI boards on the back have a keep out zone. Your board may have a porn zone, or PRON as it's known in more restricted circumstances. So I think that's a success. We've shown that this board can be recovered from a ballsed up or poor BIOS flash. I was going to say something else altogether then, but I've refrained due to censorship rules and stuff. So that's worth. I'm quite pleased with that. What I am pleased with is this processor. The highlight, I think, of this has been the processor. The motherboard for 35 quid, I think, is a bargain. Now, it has actually come from CCL as a refurbished unit, which you can tell because it comes in this generic MSI motherboard. I think it's quite often when you get a refurbished product from a company, they often use a motherboard box which has been turned inside out. So they'll just literally flip it inside out, so it's a plain white box. The fact that MSI have gone to the point of actually making a specific box to put motherboards in that have been refurbished does worry me slightly, that they might be getting a few too many boards back, so they've actually had to create cardboard boxes to actually refurbish or to rehome them. Usual stuff in here, so you get motherboard manual, you get the coaster, join MSI. Actually, something which we were talking about recently on one of the live streams about green and recycling and stuff. MSI have actually turned around now and said they're actually removing the paper inserts from motherboards. So they're not going to be giving away those stickers anymore. You're not going to get your quick start guides. You're not going to get all these pamphlets and all that kind of stuff. You are literally just going to get, well, there is a lot of paperwork in here, there really is. But they are getting rid of it all. So if you do want to actually get an MSI motherboard now, there will be an online manual available, but there won't be one actually inside the box. Which actually I think is good good in some respects, because obviously it reduces waste and what have you. But sadly, this world that we live in, obviously excluding you and I, because I class us as friends. We're friends, right? Yeah, of course we are. I would consider us as friends, so I wouldn't put you in this category, but I do feel that there are some people that will buy a motherboard and a processor and all that kind of stuff, not really having a Scooby-Doo what that is going on, and they will make an entire balls up of it because they haven't read any of the paperwork or even the manual. So they'll just be throwing all this crap in and then ending up on the Discord chat crying because their new motherboard has got smoke coming out of it. Now I feel that for the sake of a few pieces of paper in a motherboard box, that potentially could be something I could live with. I would quite happily sacrifice a few trees to not have people crying on the Discord. I don't know. Let's see what you think in the chat there. Let's take these off of here. I'll have a look at some of your questions while we're doing that. Although saying that, I won't be at the moment, so I can't see where this screw is. Oh, where is it? Oh, stab the board. Is that actually? Oh no, I was doing the wrong hole.
If you're building a PC without internet, how do you get hold of the info?
If you're building a PC without... Poppy, stop scrolling. Will you, please? Be good. Stop scrolling. Okay. Life of luxury, that cat. Aren't you? Got a screwdriver? Go on. Can you take the CPU cooler off for me? I'm a bit scared I might damage the pins. Do you do it? Alright, you do one, I'll do the other. No? Don't want to? Alright, screw you. Screw you. Yes, how do you, if you haven't got the internet and you're trying to build a PC, what happens then? I do have that concern as well. Because, like I said, there's going to be people out there that don't know what they're doing.
She's so lazy lying down to wash her ears.
Oh, Kath, sorry, can you pass the blue roll? And also, remind me tomorrow to go to buy another one. PC stickers, yeah, I don't like PC stickers. Motherboard stickers, they can do one. I quite like the ones that come with AMD processors. And actually, back in the early 90s...
So lazy, lying down
what are you
to
doing?
wash her ears.
Tired? Tired? Yeah, she's tired. So yeah, PC stickers, back in the day, I was actually such a skinflint, as you know, and I did say that when we were younger and we had our first PC, we were poor. We were genuinely poor. We were living on Tesco's value range.
No, we were worse than that. We used to get my mum to cook our tea and pick it up every night.
Kath's mum used to cook us tea as well quite frequently because we basically didn't have money for food. We were living on the edge. We really, really were.
And we'd go around and pick it up every night and take her a bunch of plates at the end of the week.
So yeah, we were living on the edge, and I wanted an ATI sticker to go on the front of my case because I had an ATI graphics card and I wanted an ATI sticker on my case. But sadly, I couldn't get one anywhere for less than, well, a few quid. So I actually got a PC magazine which was lying around and actually cut out the ATI logo from an advert and used a Pritt stick and stuck it on the front of my case. That is where we were in terms of, it was rough. It really was rough. And I actually, at that point, I did like case badges. The original case badges, the little like 1-inch square ones, I think were pretty cool. especially if you were, like if it was a branded PC or something, it's kind of nice to have that logo on your PC. I work for a company called M Squared Computers and Careful PCs, both of which we had loads of case badges made up to fit on them, and I've probably posted pictures somewhere of them, but I used to really like them. I like the M Squared one more. The Careful PCs one I didn't like much.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
No, is the honest answer.
Listening.
Okay.
Always listening, Wojciechowski or Wazowski. Platinum says, do you get more gaming performance out of overclocking the CPU or GPU? Well, GPU is going to be your primary one because that's going to give you frames per second. But if your CPU is holding your GPU back, then the CPU overclock is going to be helpful there. Poppy is stealing the show. Oh, you're watching now, are you? You woken up? Hey? Good little monkey.
Little badger.
You're still tired, aren't you? We have trained her to fight, so if I do that with my hand like that, that means it's fighting time. Oh shit, she's so. Hey babes.
And we're a bit of a walkover. Literally.
Right, Poppy, entertain the troops while I take this rubbish apart. Oh no, she's gone over there. She's had enough.
Bob's granny.
Simply not interested. Matthew Day says, I had a case badge of computer in bits. Yeah, we've all been there. I haven't had a ghetto case set up for a long time. That is something which I've successfully managed to navigate away from. That was something that we've all been there at some point where you've had a case where you've had like a side panel missing, or you've had a hole cut in the side of it. You've had something given to you and it's bloody awful, but
Or you've just
you
put
can't
on the
afford
side
it.
of a chest of drawers.
I did actually attach a PC to the side of a chest of drawers. And in fact, I've still got the chest of drawers upstairs and I'm tempted to revisit it one day. Because the only reason I didn't like it is because at the time, computer components weren't quiet enough for enable it to work properly. So I may actually do the bedside cabinet PC build once more. It was scary. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. No, Poppy, you little... Stop eating cables. I wouldn't mind, but that is a very expensive camera. Although it is insured, so it's not the end of the world. Stay. Okay. Let's have a look at some more of your questions. Oh, I haven't plugged the mouse back in. Rookie mistake. Hey, there we go. Right then, live stream. There we are, we're back. Awesome, that is working. Right, questions. Darren says, that's a Bambi moment, Mike with the sticker. I don't understand, what's that? A Bambi moment? You mean like a heartbreaker? It was heartbreaking for me at the time. We were completely, well, broke basically, but we had a house, so you have to make some sacrifices in life. Right, let's pack all this away. Really Random Reviews is in the house. How is it going? Says, hi Mike and Cap, how's your day been? It's been slightly traumatic, waiting for our food to arrive. It's also been slightly traumatic deliberately killing my motherboard, which I've literally only received. Well, actually, that only turned up today, didn't it? Did I get?
I think that was
yesterday.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, a motherboard which has been in the house probably less than 24 hours, and already tried to kill it.
I thought it meant that it was our wedding anniversary.
Oh yeah, and it's our wedding anniversary as well, so that is relatively traumatic. When I say relatively, I mean like majorly. Any anniversary or birthday, when you get to a certain point, just reminds you of actually how old you have become. So they are traumatic in that respect. And that's just being honest. Because that's what we try and do here. Right, CPU can go in there. I'm really, really excited to see how well the 4300 GE does. I've seen some benchmarks already from some other people, and I've got to be honest with you, it looks very, very promising. So, oh, balls. Yeah, so, oh my goodness, that was nearly expensive. Really random review says, Michael, I was thinking of doing something like that, build a PC into a desk. I have no idea where to start though. My suggestion is to start with
Asking your wife.
yeah, ask your wife, where is she likely to not want you to put a PC,
That's assuming it's
and then stick it directly in that position. That is probably the way forward, in my humble opinion. It's all good fun though.
I can't find that photo, William.
William Caff says she cannot find the photo. What photo is it?
The wedding photo, have you got one?
Yeah. I'll have to, oh, I don't know actually. Nowhere that I can grab easily, I don't think.
I'll put another one on with you with hair.
Okay. Chris Hartford says, where did you get the CPU? The CPU came from CCL Computers. Actually, that is something which we could do now. This is a really, really cool place to get your stuff from. It's cclonline.com. Obviously, if you're in the United Kingdom. And let's go to... Actually, is it CCL? Yes, it is. Clearance, isn't it? I'm losing my actual mind. So, am I logged in there? No, I'm not. Right, okay, that's fantastic. So I go to desktop. Yep, that's worked. There we go. So CCL Computers or cclonline.com. If you head over to the clearance tab on the side there, it comes with all the clearance items. There's some of their ones which they kind of advertised. Actually, that's not bad. Mag Z590 torpedo. It's quite a reduction. Some things get really heavily reduced. Some things less so. So what you want to do is go over to components or whatever it is you're looking for. Obviously, for us, in this case, motherboards. And then you can choose by popularity, or if you're a cheapskate like me, do high to low, or low to high rather. I can tell it's been a long day. And you can see, so we've got B450 M Pro VDH Max, £28.87p. Less than 30 quid for a B450 board, come on. And they've got two of them. So each one of these normally is an individual listing. So once they're sold, they're sold. So you might have to revisit every now and then to see what's about. But yeah, we've got the A520 board there, 33 quid, pretty decent price there. A520M-A Pro, that's, is that a full-size board? No, micro. 35 quid, 36 quid, 39 quid for a gigabyte board, if that is your thing. There's an H410 there for 40 quid. Pair that up with a cheap little 10th gen. That's a little rocket, that is. Oh, don't get me spending. Oh, even better, there's a B560M Pro VDH. That's a cool board for £42. That is cheap. That is cheap. You can get £100, well, yeah. Let's see what they got in terms of CPUs. See, I'm thinking of buying stuff now. Got me building and buying. So processor wise, let's go price low to high. So yeah, 10100F, 67 quid. 101F, 10105F, £67. Again, fantastic. Ryzen's are not so good there, but still some reasonable savings there. That's actually not bad. Ryzen 7 3700X, save £74, 224 quid. Not bad at all. Obviously, it does change from day to day, so you have to kind of get in and see what it's about. They often have graphics cards as well. We'll have a quick look at graphics cards just so you can see what's going on there, low to high. So, I don't know if that's 20 quid cheaper, but that's quite a new one. Not great, not brilliant. So, okay, there's some okay-ish deals there. Nothing really outstanding, nothing that shouts or screams buy me immediately. It's not too bad for a 3080 Ventus, if you've got that kind of money. Let's go back to clearance, components, and processors. Yeah, that is somewhat tempting. So what is
Be lucky to find a B450 carbon board anywhere now.
Yeah. So that is an A-grade CPU, £67 for a 4-core 8-thread CPU. Paired it up with the B560M for about 40 quid. So let's add that to the basket. Clearance components, and let's go back to motherboards. Clearance.
Sweet, then. Do you want my mouse mat?
Yeah, sorry.
Do you want it?
No, it's alright.
Yeah.
Motherboards. Hopefully it's not gone if someone's beat me to it.
10 400F overclockers, open box, 95 mic.
A 10 what?
10 400F.
That's quite good. So let's add that to the basket as well. So view, edit basket. So we're 110 quid for a motherboard and processor combo, and also next day free. So you get it next day free delivery for those things. That's mental. £110 for a motherboard and processor bundle. That's ridiculous. What's actually, that's a D grade, so board only, no IO shield. That potentially could be a stumbling block for some. And in fact, it might actually be for me.
Sharp used to always get me to ask people on YouTube, not YouTube, eBay.
That's got Wi-Fi on it as well. And I could use the 3D printed IO shield. That is very, very tempting indeed. That really is tempting. Anyway, I'll probably bored you all to tears with that. Yeah, if there's something wrong with it, you still get a warranty.
Nick Momberg says there's no warranty.
Well, grade D means generally that there's stuff missing or it's just a bare board. Sometimes it can mean non-functioning, but they'd say if it's non-functioning completely. I would probably advise for grade C if you can, grade B or C. That board that I just got, does it say actually what grade it was on here? Yeah, that was a C grade. So that means it was basically just a return from refurbishment. So it's pretty good. Nice one, Tristan. So, yeah, Jim's Tech says 10 400F at overclockers, open box, 95. That's not bad. Riley says, damn it, Mike, you want me to spend my money and go bankrupt? Stop tempting me with CCL clearance offers. Now, that is the trouble, because, not Riley, because Seam Knight posts the CCL deals in there daily, because basically Seam Knight flips PCs. That's partly of his living. So he's always on there looking for deals. If there's more than a couple available, he'll post them so that we all get a bit of a shout. So definitely worth doing. Chris Tost says, I can vouch for CCL clearance items. I just got a C grade Z490 MSI board and a B grade 11400F. Board was only missing M.2 screws and the CPU had some CPU leftover paste on it. £170 next day shipping. Wow, that's awesome. That is pretty good. I'm going to have to look at some more of those deals on Monday, I think. I'm not going to make any rash purchases tonight. It's never a good idea to make rash purchases late at night, especially when I've got a PC in the other room still waiting to sell. Anyway, actually, something I meant to ask. It does look okay. How does the colour look on the screen, in the stream? That's because I've changed the camera now. This is my new camera. So in theory, it should look better. It may or may not, because I haven't tweaked it yet. Literally, I've just thought, I can't be arsed to get my other camera out, so I'll just use that one that I've been using today during the day. But from what I can tell, on there it looks okay. and on there it looks okay. The colours look actually quite realistic. James Mercedes says ruggedly handsome. Riley says vibrant colours. Awesome. Chris says warmer colours, if that makes sense. Yes, it does make perfect sense. Yeah, because I can see now the background behind me. Like, I'm a pasty what's it at this time of year, and I'd blend into this IKEA unit, but I'm definitely a different colour than the IKEA unit at the moment. Whereas on some of the other streams, I don't think I was. So that's awesome. Anyway, colours are good. Fantastic stuff. Right, I'm going to wrap this up now. Sorry we started a little bit later, but hopefully you've had a little bit of entertainment. Essentially, that is what this channel is all about. If you're new here and you've just come along and wondering what the hell is this going on, we try and do a little bit of tech. We try and introduce a little bit of humour with it as well, because hey, life is way too short and we might as well have a bit of a laugh for it. So if you want a little bit of humour, a little bit of tech and some gadgets in your life, subscribe to the channel and click on the subscribe icon and the chime icon and all that kind of good stuff. It's awesome. Thank you all for the super chats. Thank you for the anniversary wishes. Very much appreciated. But I think that's going to wrap this one up. Yeah. Kath, anything you'd like to say?
Thanks everyone for all the super chats.
Did anyone hear that? She did say thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Oh, and Kath also says, she hasn't said, but I know she's going to say it anyway, if you haven't already, please, 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 can you go over to our other sister channel, which is Shop Smart on YouTube, and also there is a page on Facebook. Please help us share the channel so Kath can get monetized, because she works like she just works really, really hard. I was trying to find the right word, but I can't find the right word without probably offending someone. So she works very hard on her channel to show people deals that are around the world and also on Amazon and stuff like that. And Shop Smart on YouTube is for Aldi and Little Deals, is it? Aldi and Little Deals. The Facebook page is for deals on Amazon, stuff we get emailed every day. So all kinds of items, could be tech, could be kitchenware, could be anything and everything. So
most of what we've bought on there,
yeah,
you don't even know you want it till you
a lot of the stuff we've bought is because it's come through on Shop Smart, and it's like, oh, I've never thought of buying one of those, but at that price, I'm going to buy one. So it's that kind of channel. So please help Kath out. It's awesome. Trojan says we should have a blow up a motherboard Saturday every Saturday. I think we should. I might actually buy another motherboard every week and do a BIOS flash on it every weekend until we kill one and see which manufacturer is going to be guilty of not having a recoverable BIOS. I think that would actually be a genuinely interesting thing to do. Put a link to Shop Smart in your video descriptions. That's a good idea, actually. Well done. Kath's put a link in above there, so please feel free. Captain Meat says, slightly changing the subject, only very slightly. Texas Chainsaw movie on Netflix is rubbish. Oh, that's sad. Really random reviews, thank you very much. And let's go check out. Awesome, you guys are fantastic. I don't know why you put up with me. I really don't, but hopefully you do get some entertainment value out of it. To all of you that support the channel, awesome, thank you very much. And I think, yeah, that's going to wrap things up. So we are, yeah, we are actually done. It's been so long since I've done a stream, I can't remember how to actually end it properly. So all I'm going to say is, I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.